Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Genesis. Now this is a very interesting word because this word is found in fact all the way in Tagalog and in fact a lot of Philippine languages. And it actually comes from the same source as the word for kind in English and the word for Genesis in Latin. And of course Jati in Malay. And we'll take a look at how this word has spread out into so many languages all across the world. Stay with me now. So a very, very long time ago, the Malay language, in fact, borrowed this word from Sanskrit, and they borrowed it, in fact, 3 times. You have Jadi, Jati, and Jalata. From all these 3 come from the same root. So, and some of these words, in fact, were borrowed across Southeast Asia. So Jadi was borrowed into Philippine languages as yari or yari. And an English word, kind, also comes from this source. And so did the Latin Genesis, and we'll see where it comes from. Now look closely at the map. There was this very large family of languages called Indo-European. We think that they started about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, and they were spoken, the languages in this group were all spoken by horsemen in that area between Ukraine and southern Russia and Kazakhstan, that area. And they spread out in like all directions. So some of these languages end up in Europe where they became most of the modern European languages. Some of them went into what is now Iran, where they became Persian, and the languages that are related to Persian, like Kurdish, for example. Other languages went straight into northern India. And in fact, one branch even went all the way into Western China, although that branch is now extinct. And if we look at some of these languages, you see like there are Germanic languages, the Celtic languages, the Romance languages, including Spanish, Italian, French, Romanian, etc., etc. The Baltic Slavic languages, including Russian, Ukrainian, and even Czech, Slovak, Bulgarian, etc., etc. And then the Indo-Iranian languages, which include, of course, Persian and the languages of North India. So Hindi, Urdu, Punjabi, Bengali, Gujarati, all these languages as well. And then you've got Greek, which is a separate branch by itself, and Albanian, among others. There are other groups as well. I'm just putting some of the main ones. So now, let's take a look at Sanskrit. So Sanskrit came originally from a long time ago, from a group of languages or a group of speakers who brought this language from the steppes of, Eastern Europe and Central Asia down all the way into North India. And so what happened is Sanskrit evolved gradually, but it came in contact with another group of languages that were already spoken in the south of India called Dravidian. So if you speak Tamil, you speak Kannada, if you speak Telugu, Malayali, these languages are all Dravidian. And both Sanskrit and its descendants, as well as Dravidian languages, have been sharing India for thousands of years. So there's a lot of influence between them. Now, both languages were in fact brought by traders. In fact, I would say both language groups, to be precise, were brought by traders into Southeast Asia. So the languages all the way from Myanmar down across to Thailand, into Cambodia, down into what is now Malaysia, Indonesia, and into the Philippines. Many of these languages have borrowed words and vocabularies from Sanskrit or from the Dravidian languages. Let's take a look at some examples. I'm just showing you where these words have moved on over the centuries. So one example here is the word kulay. So kulay means soft or to become. So it's a verb. It can be a verb. It can be a noun in Tamil. So in the Tamil word kulay was then borrowed, or it was rather taken by traders into Southeast Asia, where it was borrowed by Malay speakers. And it became the word gulai, which is a type of a dish that is usually vegetables, fish, meat that's cooked until it's nice and soft in a spicy gravy. So gulai. And this word was then spread out throughout Southeast Asia. You've got, in the Philippine languages, gulay became the word for vegetables, for example. And you've got other words as well, such from Indo-European. The same process happened. These words were taken by speakers who conquered new lands, and these languages developed there. And then they were taken all across, by trade or by conquest even. So one of these words is something that sounded like gent. And this is the origin of the English word kind. In Romance languages, it became gens. And then, of course, you've got the words that comes from, I don't speak Greek, but it is like rinome or something like that in ancient Greek. And then you even get the word in modern Persian, zardan or zade, which means child or offspring. So the basic basic meaning of this word is something like to generate, to create, to have children, to procreate. And then, of course, you have in Sanskrit, it developed, in fact, into at least 3 different words from this root. There are many of them. These are the 3 main ones. So you have, janata, you have, of course, Jati, All right. And you have jata. So these words all come from the same root, gent. And these words, and in fact, the Sanskrit ones were also borrowed into Malay directly and at least 3 times. So they became words like jadi, jati, and jelata. And you see what they mean. So jadi, by itself, it literally means to become or to manifest. So it's also the root of the word hari jadi, which means birthday in Malaysia. In Indonesia, ulang tahun is more common, but in Malaysia we say hari jadi. And jadi also means so, therefore, jadi. And a long time ago, this word was taken all the way into the Philippines, but we'll talk about that later on. Now, the word jati, right, which means has to be a pure, original. Again, it comes from the word for to be born or to be created, to procreate. So something that's jati is something that's pure, original. So in Malay, the word sejati means true or real. And you have the word kayu jati, which means the pure or original wood. Kayu means wood. And this is teak wood, which is a type of tree that's very common in Southeast Asia. It's used a lot in furniture. I have jati, teak wood furniture in my house. So this is very traditional. And then, of course, you have the word jelata. Janata, the Sanskrit word which means people or the population, Janata, was borrowed into Malay as the word Jalata, which means common born. So Rakyat Jalata means commoners as opposed to nobles. And then we look at other words. So the word jadi was borrowed by the Philippine languages, and you have the word yari or yari, which means to happen. It also means power. When something happens, it's because of power. So mangyari, kapangyarihan, for authority, etc., etc. All these words come from the same roots. Yari also means like to be created, to be produced. So yari saginto, like made of gold. So this is just a short example of how words can be borrowed across a wide range of languages. We'll look at more examples as we go along. And if you have any questions about the etymologies of some of your favorite words, put them in the comments below, and I might try to sort of find out where they come from. Until next time, thank you.